Welcome to part 10 of the FOG Napoleonic Introductory series. In this episode, we're going to cover outcome moves and specifically pursuits. So you want to be looking at the table on page 109, which gives you the pursuit distances. Once all retire moves are done, you then move on to pursuits. As you can see from this table, just a few things to point out. Impetuous cavalry always pursue. Other cavalry must take a CMT if they don't want to pursue, whereas infantry have to take a CMT if they do want to pursue. And then, not surprisingly, infantry in square, infantry defending a river or a building, do not pursue. Also, right at the bottom of this table, it's worth pointing out that there's no pursuit against opponents leaving a redoubt or building. Instead, what happens is, as you can see here, the assaulting unit immediately enters the redoubt or building and occupies it. And if there's more than one assaulting unit, then the player can choose which of their units goes in. So here you can see A is exited, and one now will, in lieu of pursuit, will move in and occupy the building. So some basic pursuit moves which are covered on the rules covered on page 109 and 10. So in this case, you can see Unit 1 of Cavalry must now pursue Unit A. So A has retired to their rear as per the pursuit rules. So the first step is the pursuer must first do a free wheel to line up parallel with the retirers before pursuing. So it's free in that you're not paying for any movement distance, but they need to line up parallel. Then they make their pursuit, and in this case, Unit 1 is slightly blocked by Unit 2. You can see the white lines. So one can shift by up to one base to avoid friendly Unit 2 in pursuit. You can do the same to avoid terrain, table edges, and so on. Then potentially Unit 1 has the option to deviate and catch another unit. So if and only if one cannot catch A, so the original target of the pursuit, one may wheel towards the next nearest target, in this case B, so long as B is within 2 MU of the path of the retiring unit's retire move. So it's really important to remember it's not the path of the pursuer, it's the path of the retirer. So then let's assume that that's happened. So now there's new combat after pursuit, and you can see that on pages 110 to 11. And there's a table here that talks it through for you, and it depends on who you contact, whether it's a broken enemy unit, the original target, a new target, caught in the first half of the move or caught in the second half, which is important. So let's talk that through. So in this example, one has wheeled towards B in the pursuit and has hit them in the flank. So B has to immediately turn to face, and if B was contacted in the first half of one's pursuit move, so that's covered in this section of the table, then B cannot make any reaction, i.e. they make no cohesion test and they have no opportunity to form square. If contact was in the second half of one's pursuit, then B can react normally, although important to note that there's never defensive fire allowed against pursuers, and then that combat happens immediately. Then we have the pass-through rule, which is covered on pages 111 to 112. And the simple pass-through rule is cavalry who fought only infantry in square may pass through the square if the cavalry are of a higher cohesion level than the square. So how does that work? So in this example, at the end of combat, cavalry unit A is disordered, but the square is wavering. So A must pass through as they are of a higher cohesion level than 1. Unless they pass a CMT not to, as per normal if you're choosing not to pursue. For cavalry, they can take a test not to, and of course impetuous cavalry don't have that option, they would have to pursue. So the pass-through move, the first thing you do is if it has to be space on the other side, A is placed on the far side of one in exactly the same facing as if they had moved straight, and then the pursuit happens from that position. So it can be quite devastating. So they get they pass through, and then they roll their normal dice for pursuit at that point. couple of things to note. If there's no space on the far side, the cavalry unit would retire instead of passing through. And note there are some exceptions if you read the rule. So if it's blocked by artillery or waverers or things like that, they can still pass through. So just check that in the rules. If the cavalry were fighting the square as part of a pursuit move, they don't pass through, they'll retire. And the reason for that is because you can only ever make one pursuit move in a turn. So that's it for pursuits. In the next episode, we'll get to the recovery phase.